What if I told you that everything you've been waiting for, every dream deferred, every goal that seems just out of reach, every breakthrough that feels perpetually around the corner, could shift in the next 24 hours with nothing more than a single sentence? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Right now, as you're watching this, millions of people are stuck in what I call the waiting room of life. They're journaling their desires, visualizing their dreams, setting intentions, and following every manifestation technique they can find online. Yet somehow, despite all their effort, despite all their positive thinking and vision boards, they remain trapped in the same cycles, experiencing the same limitations, living the same year over and over again. Has this ever happened to you? Here's what most people don't understand about the true mechanics of manifestation. You don't need another year of preparation. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, or for the stars to align. You don't need more money, more time, more credentials, or another step in some elaborate, drawn-out plan. What you need, what you have always needed, is something so simple, so fundamental, yet so overlooked that it might shock you. You need one living word, not just any word, but a sentence so precisely aligned, so charged with spiritual authority that it can slice through years of stagnation in a single breath. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this profound truth decades ago, and what you're about to discover might surprise you about how the universe actually responds to human consciousness. Most people approach manifestation like they're making a request to a cosmic customer service department. They beg, they explain their circumstances, they try to negotiate with the universe, hoping that somehow their worthiness will be recognized and their prayers answered. But here's the revolutionary truth that changes everything. The sentence that transforms your reality doesn't beg, doesn't explain, and certainly doesn't negotiate. It commands. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you operates on a completely different frequency than anything you've been taught about creating change in your life. This transformative sentence, this one living word, has the power to rewire the entire frequency of your existence and call into sight what has always been waiting for you in the invisible realm. You see, there's a fundamental difference between hoping for change and commanding it, between wishing for transformation and decreeing it, between asking the universe to consider your request and speaking with the authority that reshapes reality itself. The ancient wisdom traditions knew this secret, and now science is beginning to understand what mystics have always known, that consciousness, when properly directed through focused intention and spoken word, doesn't just observe reality, it creates it. If this kind of practical, transformative content resonates with you, consider subscribing. Every video here gives you real tools for conscious creation, not just inspiration. But here's where most people stumble, and why their manifestation efforts fall short despite their best intentions. They're operating under the illusion that transformation follows the same rules as physical time. They believe change must be gradual, that breakthrough requires months or years of consistent effort, that significant shifts in their reality demand lengthy preparation periods. This mindset has been programmed into us by a culture that worships struggle and glorifies the slow grind towards success. Yet this couldn't be further from the hidden truth about how spiritual law actually operates. When you understand the real mechanics behind manifestation, you discover that transformation isn't measured by clocks, calendars, or conventional timelines. It's measured by the precision and authority of your spoken word. The moment you declare something with clean faith, not hope, not wishful thinking, but absolute knowing, and simultaneously cancel those stale patterns that have been running your life on autopilot, something profound happens in the invisible realm. Law moves, spirit shifts, and demonstration begins immediately. This isn't some mystical concept that sounds beautiful in theory but fails in practical application. This is the fundamental operating system of reality itself. Every breakthrough you've ever experienced, every sudden shift that seemed to come out of nowhere, every moment when the impossible became inevitable, these weren't random occurrences or lucky breaks. They were the result of this same principle activating, whether you were conscious of it or not. What's truly revolutionary about this understanding is that what belongs to you begins to appear the very second your word goes out into the universe. Not after you've proven yourself worthy, not after you've completed some cosmic checklist of requirements, but immediately upon proper declaration. Once spoken in authentic alignment with your deepest truth, that word doesn't return empty-handed. Creation itself responds instantly to commands that are delivered with genuine authority. Think about the most significant decisions that have shaped your life's journey. Weren't many of them made in single moments of clarity, where you simply knew what needed to happen and spoke it into existence? That wasn't coincidence. That was you unconsciously tapping into this same transformative principle that governs all manifestation. The impact of understanding this shifts everything about how you approach change. Instead of approaching your desires from a place of lack, constantly trying to fill some void or fix some problem, you begin to operate from the recognition that what you seek is already complete in the spiritual dimension. Your role isn't to create it from nothing, but to step into what's already been prepared for you behind the scenes of ordinary reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific sentence, one particular arrangement of words, that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered could activate this principle with unprecedented precision. But before we explore that transformative revelation, write in the comments, "I'm ready for this shift," so I know you're truly grasping the magnitude of what we're uncovering together. This transformative revelation becomes even more profound when you examine how creation itself actually began. We're taught to think of the beginning of existence as some complex cosmic event, a lengthy process involving intricate planning, divine committees, and elaborate preparations. Yet when you look at the actual account, something remarkable emerges that completely reshapes your understanding of how reality responds to conscious intention. Creation didn't begin with a strategic plan. There was no divine brainstorming session, no cosmic feasibility study, no universal vote taken on whether light should exist. Creation began with a single sentence, "Let there be light," and there was light. One breath of holy command rearranged the entire fabric of existence on the spot. No permission needed, no justification required, no lengthy explanation of why light was necessary. Just pure, undiluted authority speaking reality into form. This isn't just ancient history or religious metaphor. This is the blueprint for how consciousness interfaces with the quantum field of infinite possibilities. That same creative power, that same immediate response to properly spoken command exists within you right now. The very breath in your lungs carries this same potential for instant transformation. Yet here's what's fascinating about human behavior and our journey through life. You were never designed to wander in circles, endlessly searching for the right path, the perfect opportunity, or the ideal moment to step into your greatness. You were never meant to drift through existence like a ship without coordinates, hoping that favorable winds might eventually carry you to your destination. You were specifically created to speak reality into alignment with your highest vision. But instead of embracing this incredible authority, most people exhaust themselves with every other possible approach. They journal obsessively, documenting their dreams and analyzing their desires from every conceivable angle. They wait for external validation, looking for signs that the universe approves of their aspirations. They worry themselves into paralysis, creating elaborate mental scenarios about everything that could possibly go wrong. They overwork themselves to the point of burnout, believing that sheer effort alone will eventually force their breakthrough. They overthink every decision, until the original inspiration gets buried under layers of doubt and analysis. Behind the scenes of all this frantic activity, there's one thing they consistently avoid doing, the one thing that would actually create the transformation they desperately seek. They haven't yet spoken the specific word that breaks delay, the precise sentence that cuts through years of stagnation and activates the hidden mechanisms of instant manifestation. This isn't about positive affirmations or repeating generic phrases you found online. This goes deeper into the very foundation of how consciousness creates reality through focused intention and spoken authority. The impact of understanding this principle shifts your entire approach to change, from trying harder to speaking clearer. Now, the specific sentence that Florence Scovel Shinn identified as having this extraordinary power contains 3 distinct elements that work together to create what she called divine acceleration. And when you combine these elements correctly, something remarkable happens to your timeline. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to speak my truth," and let's explore exactly how this sentence restructures reality itself. But there's a crucial understanding that must come first, because without grasping this fundamental principle, even the most powerful words remain dormant and ineffective. If this resonated deeply with you, show me by hitting the like button. It helps me reach others who are genuinely ready to step into their creative power. Here's the hidden truth that most people completely miss in their journey toward transformation. Until you actually speak your intention aloud, nothing new can move in your reality. Think about that for a moment. All those dreams you've been nurturing silently, all those visions you've been visualizing privately, all those goals you've been thinking about constantly, they remain trapped in potential until they're given voice. The universe operates on a very specific frequency, and that frequency is activated through spoken word, not silent thought. But once you do speak with genuine authority, everything must shift. This isn't happening in some abstract theoretical dimension. This is substance responding to consciousness. When you declare truth boldly, when you speak commands without the trembling uncertainty that usually accompanies our requests, Spirit itself reorganizes around your declaration. The very fabric of your experience begins restructuring itself to match the reality you've just spoken into existence. This is where most people's mindset completely misses the mark. They approach their desires like they're making suggestions to a cosmic suggestion box, hoping their ideas might be considered worthy of attention. But the universe doesn't respond to suggestions or polite requests. It responds to declarations made with unshakable knowing, to commands spoken from the place of absolute certainty about your rightful inheritance. What I'm about to share with you isn't motivational speaking or positive psychology. This isn't some feel-good suggestion that might work if you're lucky and the stars align perfectly. This operates as spiritual law, as precise and reliable as gravity or electricity. Once this law becomes active through your properly spoken word, your entire life reorders itself within 24 hours according to these same spiritual principles that govern all manifestation. The impact of this revelation completely transforms how you approach any decision or challenge in your life. Instead of spending weeks or months trying to figure out the perfect strategy, instead of analyzing every possible outcome behind the scenes, you begin to understand that the breakthrough you've been seeking is literally one sentence away from activation. The journey from where you are to where you want to be isn't measured in time or effort. It's measured in the precision and authority of your spoken declaration. But here's what makes this so incredibly powerful, and why Florence Scovel Shinn's specific sentence works with such consistent precision. When you speak this particular combination of words with genuine understanding of what you're activating, you're not just hoping for change or requesting improvement. You're actually invoking 3 distinct spiritual laws simultaneously, creating what she discovered was an unstoppable momentum toward manifestation. Write in the comments, "I understand the power," because recognizing this principle is the first step toward wielding it effectively in your own transformation. When you recognize this principle, you begin to see something quite disturbing about how most people actually navigate their existence. They don't truly live their lives in the fullest sense. Instead, they live in loops. These are spirals of hesitation that keep them circling the same limited experiences year after year. They create circles of lack where the same financial struggles, relationship patterns, and career frustrations repeat with clockwork precision. What's particularly heartbreaking is watching someone brush against the very edge of their breakthrough, feeling that electric moment when transformation seems within reach, only to watch them fall back into the familiar territory of fear and doubt. This happens repeatedly, Not because these individuals are somehow unworthy or fundamentally flawed, but because no one ever taught them the art of decreeing their reality into existence. The impact of this missing knowledge creates a tragedy that plays out in millions of lives every single day. Behind the scenes of every unfulfilled dream, every goal that remains perpetually someday, every vision that stays locked in the realm of wishful thinking, there's this same fundamental gap. People have learned to hope, to visualize, to set intentions, but they've never learned to speak with the authority that actually activates spiritual law. This creates a particularly painful kind of stagnation. Many souls remain stuck for years, sometimes decades, and the enemy isn't some external force working against them. The real obstacle is their inner silence. They carry enormous potential. You can see it in their eyes, feel it in their energy. They have brilliant ideas that could change their lives and impact countless others. Their hearts are pure, their intentions genuine, their desires completely aligned with their highest good. Yet despite all these positive qualities, despite all this untapped potential, they remain frozen in place because they lack one crucial element, a decree in their mouth. They have no single spiritual sentence that the law can move through to create the transformation they desperately seek. Without this spoken instruction, all that beautiful potential remains dormant, like a powerful engine that's never been started. The hidden truth about how consciousness creates reality is that the universe operates on very specific protocols. It responds to clear, authoritative communication, not to silent wishes or unexpressed longings. Your thoughts have power, but they remain in the realm of possibility until they're given voice through conscious, deliberate speech. This is why people can spend years journaling, meditating, and visualizing without seeing significant changes in their external circumstances. They're working with the preparatory stages of manifestation, but they're never activating the final step that actually brings spiritual law into motion. The journey from inner vision to outer reality requires this bridge of spoken word, delivered with unshakable conviction. Hit subscribe if you're ready for more content that cuts through the fluff and shows you how consciousness actually shapes reality. This channel is for people serious about applying spiritual law. Write in the comments, "I'm breaking the loop," because acknowledging these patterns is the first step toward dissolving them completely. Now, when Florence Scovel Shinn developed her revolutionary approach to manifestation, she discovered that there was one particular sentence that could break through this pattern of limitation and activate all three spiritual laws simultaneously. But understanding how to speak this sentence correctly requires recognizing the precise mindset that makes it effective. And there's a fundamental principle about how spiritual law operates that most people completely misunderstand. Here's what creates such profound confusion in people's journey toward transformation. They expect the universe to somehow read their minds and automatically deliver what they need. They believe that's how spiritual law operates. Write in the comments, "I know this works," because this level of certainty is essential for accessing the full transformative power that becomes available when you truly understand your authority as a conscious creator. Now, there's a specific way to structure your day around this sentence that creates what Florence Scovel Shinn called sustained demonstration. And there are particular moments when speaking it has maximum impact on your manifestation timeline. The secret lies in understanding that the most powerful alignment doesn't happen during dramatic declarations or intense focus sessions. It happens in the quiet, ordinary moments that make up the majority of your daily experience. True alignment occurs at your kitchen sink, while washing dishes, during your morning walk when your mind is clear, in those peaceful minutes before sleep, when conscious resistance naturally softens. These are the golden moments when your decree can take root most deeply, because your rational mind isn't actively monitoring or questioning what you're doing. Behind the scenes of these simple activities, you have access to a more receptive state of consciousness. When your mind inevitably starts replaying old worries, rehearsing familiar problems, or drifting into doubt-filled scenarios about your future, this is precisely when you interrupt that mental spiral with your decree, not spoken with force or desperation, but softly, finally, like you're simply reminding yourself of something you already know to be true. The impact of this gentle redirection is more powerful than any forceful effort to change your thinking. This approach works because you're not fighting against unwanted thoughts. You're simply replacing them with something more aligned. You're creating new neural pathways that automatically default to truth rather than fear. The transformation happens gradually but consistently until your natural mental rhythm aligns with your desired reality instead of your old limitations. But here's where most people struggle with manifestation, and it's the exact place where Florence Scovel Shinn's approach becomes revolutionary. They want to control exactly how their desires will manifest. They want to see the complete roadmap, understand every step of the process, and manage all the details of how their breakthrough will unfold. This need to control the orchestration actually blocks the very demonstration they're seeking. You may not know how your life will rearrange itself to match your declaration, and that's not your job. Your job is much simpler, but requires complete trust in the intelligence that governs all creation. Your role is holding the sentence as true in your consciousness, walking through your days as though it's unfolding right now, acting consistently as someone who has already stepped into their desired reality. This requires a fundamental shift in your decision-making process, your daily choices, and how you respond to current circumstances. Instead of acting from the perspective of someone who hopes their life will change, you begin acting from the perspective of someone whose life is already changing. The journey becomes about embodying your new reality rather than trying to force it into existence. Write in the comments, "I trust the process," because this level of surrender to divine intelligence is what allows the full power of your spoken word to manifest in ways that exceed your current imagination. Trust the orchestration completely, because the same intelligence that coordinates billions of stars, manages countless ecosystems, and maintains the precise balance that keeps everything in existence functioning perfectly, is now working on your behalf. And when you truly surrender to this process, when you stop trying to micromanage how your breakthrough will unfold, something beautiful begins to happen that validates everything you've been declaring. Signs will start appearing with such natural ease that you might almost miss their significance. A phone call arrives exactly when you need it, offering an opportunity that seemed impossible just days before. An email shows up in your inbox with information that solves a problem you'd been wrestling with for months. Doors that were previously shut tight begin opening with surprising ease, as if invisible hands are clearing the path ahead of you. Delays that had been frustrating you for weeks suddenly vanish overnight, replaced by smooth progress that feels almost effortless. Solutions appear that look so natural, so logical, so perfectly timed that you'll almost forget how impossible they once seemed. Behind the scenes of these seemingly ordinary events, there's extraordinary orchestration happening in response to your spoken decree. The impact of witnessing these manifestations unfold is profound, because they don't arrive with fanfare or obvious supernatural intervention. They integrate into your life so seamlessly that they feel like natural progressions rather than miraculous interventions. This is actually how spiritual law prefers to work, through the path of least resistance, arranging circumstances in ways that feel organic and inevitable. What you've accomplished through this process is something that most people spend years trying to achieve through complex strategies and exhausting effort. Instead of fighting shadows, wrestling with circumstances, or battling against unwanted conditions, you simply turned on the light. You activated the spiritual law that governs all manifestation through one clear, authoritative declaration. Keep this approach beautifully simple, because that's where its power lies. Don't complicate the law with 100 different hows, strategies, or backup plans. Don't dilute your decree with endless analysis about timing, worthiness, or whether you're doing everything correctly. There's only one how that truly matters in this entire process. You spoke your reality into existence with genuine authority and conviction. This simplicity is what makes Florence Scovel Shinn's approach so revolutionary and effective. While others are lost in complicated manifestation techniques, complex visualizations, and elaborate rituals, you're working directly with the fundamental force that creates all change. Your spoken word, delivered with proper understanding and unwavering faith, becomes the bridge between your current circumstances and your desired reality. The journey, from limitation to freedom, from struggle to ease, from lack to abundance, isn't about mastering dozens of different techniques. It's about mastering this one principle so completely that it becomes your natural way of interfacing with reality. When challenges arise, instead of being overwhelmed by problem-solving mode, you simply return to your decree and let spiritual law handle the orchestration. Write in the comments, "I turned on the light," because recognizing this fundamental shift in your approach marks the moment when transformation becomes inevitable rather than hopeful. Now, as you begin implementing this sentence in your own life, there are specific signs that indicate when it's working correctly, and there's a particular way to maintain momentum even when visible results haven't appeared yet. But first, you need to understand something fundamental about why most people struggle with manifestation, even when they have good intentions and genuine desires for change. Most people spend their days wrestling shadows, exhausting themselves by trying to push the outer world into place through sheer force of will. They attack their problems directly, attempting to manipulate circumstances, convince other people to change their minds, or somehow rearrange external conditions to match their preferences. This approach feels logical and proactive, but it's actually working backwards from how reality actually operates. The wise understand something that completely transforms their relationship with change. The outer world is simply an echo of inner states of consciousness. Everything you see in your physical experience is reflecting back the vibration, the beliefs, the assumptions that are active within your awareness. The cause is never outside. It's always within. The command that shapes your reality is never external. It's always internal. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn's approach is so elegantly effective. She understood that trying to change conditions from the outside is like trying to change your reflection by manipulating the mirror. Instead, she taught something revolutionary that goes straight to the source of all manifestation. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But here's what's crucial to understand about this principle. She wasn't talking about wishful thinking, positive affirmations, or pretending that everything is wonderful when it clearly isn't. She wasn't suggesting that you beg the universe or hope really hard that things might improve. This is something much deeper and more powerful than surface-level optimism. She was teaching you to step into what's already complete in spirit, to assume the inner state of someone who has already received what they're seeking, and then let the world catch up to this new vibration. Behind the scenes of this process, you're working with the fundamental creative force that shapes all reality through consciousness rather than effort. The impact of understanding this principle changes everything about how you approach challenges, setbacks, and unwanted circumstances. Instead of seeing them as evidence that your dreams aren't working out, you begin to recognize them as the old echo of previous inner states that are now dissolving. Instead of fighting against current conditions, you maintain alignment with the reality you've declared, knowing that the outer world must eventually reflect this new inner knowing. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn's sentence works with such precision and power. When you say, "I now step into and assume the life that is already mine," you're not trying to create something from nothing. You're acknowledging what already exists in the realm of spirit and consciously aligning with it through your spoken word and sustained inner knowing. The journey becomes about maintaining this alignment regardless of what appears to be happening around you, trusting that your decree has already set everything in motion behind the scenes. Write in the comments, "I work from within," because recognizing this principle as the foundation of all lasting change prepares you for the advanced techniques that accelerate manifestation even further. The journey becomes about maintaining this alignment regardless of what appears to be happening around you, trusting that your decree has already set everything in motion behind the scenes. And when you truly master this inner approach, something extraordinary happens that defies everything. You've been taught about how long transformation should take. Time collapses. What should have required years of gradual progress suddenly turns overnight, because spiritual law doesn't reward effort. It rewards alignment. The people who experience miraculous breakthroughs aren't necessarily the ones who worked hardest or struggled longest. They're the ones who found that precise frequency where their inner knowing matched their outer declaration so completely that the universe had no choice but to respond instantly. This is where most people misunderstand what alignment actually feels like. They think it requires intense focus, constant vigilance, or exhausting mental effort to maintain the right thoughts and feelings. But true alignment isn't strain, it's soft certainty. It's that quiet knowing that settles into your bones and doesn't need constant reinforcement or external validation. When you genuinely know something, you don't ask when it will happen. You simply proceed as though it's already unfolding. Behind the scenes of this state of knowing, there's a fundamental shift in how you relate to your desires and your future. Instead of approaching them with the energy of someone who hopes things might work out, you begin moving through your days with the calm confidence of someone who already knows how things will work out. The impact of this shift radiates through every decision you make and every interaction you have. But here's what's truly revolutionary about Florence Scovel Shinn's approach, and this is where most people completely miss the mark when they attempt to use spoken word for manifestation. This isn't about shouting loudest, repeating affirmations the most times, or somehow overpowering the universe with the volume of your declarations. The power lies in the quiet weight behind your word, the unshakable authority that comes from deep inner knowing rather than surface-level hoping. When you speak with this quality of certainty, you're not speaking to test the sky, wondering if the universe is listening or if your words will be accepted. You're speaking to remind the unseen that you remember who you are, that you remember your true nature as a conscious creator with the authority to direct your experience through focused intention and spoken decree. This remembering transforms everything about how you use Florence Scovel Shinn's sentence. Instead of reciting it like a hopeful prayer, you declare it like a divine being acknowledging their own power. Instead of speaking from the perspective of someone who needs something, you speak from the perspective of someone reclaiming what already belongs to them at the level of spirit. The journey from struggle to ease, from limitation to freedom, from hoping to knowing happens in the space between breaths when you finally recognize the creative authority that has always been yours. When you speak from this place of authentic power, your words carry a frequency that the universe recognizes and must respond to because you're working in harmony with the fundamental laws that govern all creation. Write in the comments, "I remember who I am," because this recognition of your true nature is the foundation that makes everything else possible. Now, there's a specific way to cultivate this quality of inner authority, and there are particular practices that Florence Scovel Shinn used to maintain this state of quiet certainty even when external circumstances seem to contradict her. Declarations. The most crucial understanding is recognizing the fundamental difference between speaking for comfort and speaking with command, because this distinction determines whether your words activate spiritual law or simply provide temporary emotional relief. Don't speak this decree as comfort, reaching for it when you're feeling anxious or uncertain, hoping it will make you feel better about your current situation. This approach treats the sentence like a spiritual security blanket, rather than the powerful tool of conscious creation it actually is. Instead, speak it as command, with the calm certainty of a master who knows that spiritual law cannot return void when properly activated. This requires a complete shift in your mindset about what you're actually doing when you speak Florence Scovel Shinn's sentence. You're not trying to convince yourself that everything will work out. You're not attempting to boost your confidence or overcome your doubts. You're replacing old stories about limitation, struggle, and lack with new declarations about abundance, ease, and divine timing. Behind the scenes of this process, you're literally rewriting the programming that governs your experience. The impact of speaking with this level of authority reverberates through every aspect of your consciousness. Your subconscious mind begins operating from these new instructions, rather than the outdated beliefs that have been running your life on autopilot. Your decisions start aligning with someone who has already stepped into their desired reality. Your energy shifts from seeking to having, from wanting to knowing. But here's the most profound truth about this entire process, and this is what gives you unshakable confidence even when visible results haven't appeared yet. Once the word is truly alive in your consciousness, once you've spoken it with genuine authority and maintained alignment with its truth, the turnaround has already begun. Not through pushing, forcing, or trying to make things happen, but through permission. Your conscious permission for spiritual law to orchestrate your demonstration. This happens not by force, but by alignment, not through struggle, but through surrender to the intelligence that governs all manifestation. The rest unfolds exactly on time according to divine orchestration, because spiritual law, once properly spoken and consistently maintained, never fails. Never. This isn't hope or positive thinking. This is the fundamental operating principle of consciousness itself. Understanding this removes all anxiety about timing, all worry about whether you're doing it correctly, all doubt about whether you deserve what you're seeking. You're not hoping the law will work for you. You know it must work because that's its nature. Your only job is maintaining the alignment that allows it to express through your experience without interference from fear, doubt, or contradictory thinking. Write in the comments, law never fails, because recognizing this absolute reliability of spiritual principles is what allows you to rest in complete confidence while your spoken word arranges the perfect unfoldment of your desires. The journey from declaration to demonstration becomes a matter of patient knowing rather than anxious hoping, of sustained certainty rather than fluctuating faith. And if you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of Florence Scovel Shinn's revolutionary approach to manifestation, you've just received something that most people spend years searching for: the precise understanding of how consciousness actually creates reality through spoken word. This isn't information you stumbled across by accident. There's something about where you are in your journey right now that made you ready to receive these principles, ready to step into the level of creative authority that most people never even realize they possess. The fact that you're here, at this moment, listening to these words, is itself evidence that your desired reality is already moving toward you. If this resonated with you, if something deep inside recognized the truth of what we've been exploring together, consider subscribing to this channel. Not because I need the numbers, but because you deserve consistent access to the kind of content that actually transforms lives rather than just entertaining minds. Every video here is designed to give you practical tools for becoming the conscious creator you were, always meant to be. And if you made it all the way to this point, write in the comments, "This message was meant for me." There's power in acknowledging when something aligns perfectly with where you are and where you're going. Plus, I love connecting with people who are serious about applying these principles rather than just collecting information. Hit the like button if you felt that connection we've been building throughout this conversation. That sense of finally finding someone who explains manifestation the way it actually works rather than how we wish it worked. Your engagement helps this reach others who are searching for the same clarity you just received. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into Florence Scovel Shinn's most advanced techniques for maintaining alignment when circumstances seem to contradict your declarations. Click and continue with me over there, because what you've learned today is just the foundation for what becomes possible when you truly master this approach.